Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about God. When we talk about God, we expect Him to be both the highest reality and the highest good. Believing and knowing is related to the reality of God, while loving and worshipping is about the goodness of God. We have the study of metaphysics, which studies reality versus nothingness, and axiology, which studies goodness versus badness. So metaphysics is about the reality of God, but axiology is about the goodness of God. For a more detailed categorization of these divisions of philosophy, you can watch the previous video. Okay, so with regard to the relationship between real nothing philosophy or metaphysics and good and bad philosophy or axiology, we can have these mind maps. The first mind map you can see is unbalanced. From the left side, it's called moral absolutism, which considers both goodness and badness to be absolutely real. But when we look at it from the right side, it's like a ditheism, because it thinks that we have two kinds of reality: a good reality or a good God, and a bad reality or a bad God. The next one is moral nihilism. If we look at it from the left side, moral nihilism states that both goodness and badness are nothing, and if we look at it from the right side, right perspective, we can see that it leads to absurdism, because it says that nothing is good or bad. The next mind map is optimism. Optimism basically considers both reality and nothingness to be good. And if we look at it from right side, some metaphysicians think that goodness can be both real and nothing, or either real or nothing. The next mind map is pessimism. If we look at it from the left side, pessimists believe that both reality and nothingness, or whatever it is bad. And if we look at it from the right side, some metaphysicians believe that badness can be sometimes real or nothing. But if we go to monotheism, reality is goodness equals goodness and nothingness equals badness. In other words, the equivalent, the axiological equivalent for nothingness in metaphysics is badness, and the axiological equivalent for reality in metaphysics is goodness in axiology. Okay, so when we want to talk about God, as we already mentioned, we consider Him to be a unity between goodness and reality. In other words, He is a good reality, or a real goodness. This also necessitates the badness of nothingness, or the nothingness of badness. Well, here is an argument for the goodness of reality. When a sane person has two options, the option that he prefers is good, and the option that he rejects is bad. Premise 2. When a sane person has two options of reality versus nothingness, he will prefer reality and reject nothingness. Conclusion: therefore, reality is good and nothingness is bad. The second argument, reality of goodness. When a sane person has only two options, the option that he searches for is real, and the option that he does not search for is nothing. When a sane person has two options of goodness versus badness, he will search for goodness and ignore badness. Therefore, goodness is real and badness is nothing. Now, an argument for the reality of goodness and for the unity of reality and goodness. It says, from argument 1, we concluded that reality is good, and from argument 2 we concluded that goodness is real. Now we can say that reality is good, goodness is real, therefore reality and goodness are united, or one thing, or the same. This also necessitates the unity of nothingness and badness. Nothingness is bad, badness is nothing, therefore nothingness and badness are the same. Perhaps the biggest understanding of monotheism is to know that goodness of reality necessitates badness of nothingness, or reality of goodness necessitates nothingness of badness by God. When we say trust in God, it means to trust in the goodness of reality in a way that, however deep you delve into reality, it will always be good. In other words, it means to not be afraid of going as deep as possible in reality and liking reality for the sake of it being real. Just liking reality for itself. When we say that God is obvious, we mean that God is a unity between goodness and reality, a good reality or a real goodness, as Plato or some Neoplatonists believe. It means to be one single being with all positive qualities at its highest level. This conclusion gives you a pride that you are beyond every philosopher, and at the same time gives you a humility that you have just reached what ordinary people know commonsensically, because every sane person simply prefers reality over nothingness. In terms of this conclusion, philosophers and ordinary people are the same. That's because even the Amazon tribe members simply prefer reality to nothingness, or being to